All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're taking a deep dive into This is Marketing by Seth Godin.
Oh, yeah, a classic.
It really makes you rethink, what marketing actually is, like at its core. It's not just about selling stuff, right?
Yeah, not at all.
I mean, what was your big takeaway? What really stuck with you?
The idea of marketing as a force for positive change, really it's about solving problems
Yeah.
for people, like genuinely helping, not just pushing products.
And he really drives that point home with the penguin magic example. I love that one.
Oh, it's a brilliant example. They created a whole community
Yeah, not just a business.
around magic. So it's like the more magicians there are, the
Mm.
more people are into magic.
The more they need penguin magic.
Exactly.
It's like this self-sustaining ecosystem. Everyone wins.
That's marketing done right.
And it makes you realize, like, oh, marketing can actually make people's lives better.
100%. And that kind of leads into this this other key takeaway, the smallest viable market idea.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone,
Right.
you focus on a specific passionate audience.
Like a niche.
Yeah. Like he uses the example of Union Square Cafe.
Oh, Danny Meyer.
Yeah. Intentionally chose to cater to a smaller group, like what was it, 600 people a day?
Yeah, I think so.
And it worked. Built an incredible, loyal, following, legendary restaurant.
Because he really knew his audience.
Yeah.
Which is the other side of that coin. Understanding your market. He has this this cautionary tale about Ron Johnson, the CEO of JCPenney.
Oh, yeah.
Decided to end discounts based on his own worldview. Disaster.
Big time.
Sales dropped like, what, 50%?
Yeah, something like
Right.
that. A total flop.
So Godin's point is,
Yeah.
you got to understand your audience's worldview, not just like push your own.
Makes sense.
And he uses these personas, Bargain Bull and Careful Carla. It's such a good way to visualize it.
Oh, yeah. And it highlights how people have, different motivations. And you have to kind of like understand those nuances.
You can't just assume,
All right. So knowing your audience is just as important as the message itself, right?
at least.
This is why I think this book is considered a classic. But speaking of understanding your audience, Godin goes a little deeper. He dives into the psychology, like the decision-making.
The why behind the buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talks about empathy, like really seeing things from your customer's perspective.
Which is harder than it sounds.
It is. And he brings up some really interesting research on conspiracy theorists, Professor Roland Imhoff.
Now, this is
They
interesting.
should be good.
So Imhoff found that these individuals, they're driven by a need to belong and wanting to be unique at the same time.
So they want to feel like they're like in the know.
Like they have the inside scoop, they're part of this special group.
Right. And I think that need to belong, like that's universal.
Absolutely. It's human nature.
So even if you don't buy into the whole conspiracy thing, you can relate to that need to feel connected.
Totally. And Godin suggests that marketers can tap into that, create a sense of community.
Like around their brand.
Exactly. Make people feel seen, understood, like they're a part of something bigger.
Oh, I like that. Okay, but how do we shake things up a little? How do we get people's attention in this crazy, noisy world?
Well, Godin talks about pattern interrupts.
Ooh.
It's about disrupting the status quo to get noticed.
Okay.
Like, think about Slack.
Yeah.
No one was really asking for a new way to, like, talk to their coworkers.
But they made it work.
They did.
Right?
Because they tapped into that desire to be connected.
To be in sync.
Exactly. So it became the new normal.
So it's about creating this kind of positive tension to show them a better way.
That's a great way to put it.
I like that. Which kind of brings us to another big idea in the book, trust.
Huge.
Yeah.
Especially now with so much noise and misinformation.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to believe these days.
And Godin emphasizes permission marketing, which means you earn the right to communicate with your audience.
So it's not about bombarding them with ads, but about building like a real relationship.
Exactly. And respecting their attention.
That makes sense. I mean, that's why he's so big on building an email list.
Absolutely.
Right.
Your email list is gold because those are people who have actively chosen to hear from you.
They opted in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of social media where you're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm.
Yeah, you're just renting that attention. Yeah.
Exactly. Godin tells this great story about Tumabasa and Spotify's Rap Caviar playlist. He built this massive following
Oh, yeah.
by just consistently curating amazing music.
He really understood that audience.
He did. And it transformed the music industry. all through permission and connection.
It's pretty amazing what you can do when you really understand what your audience wants.
And you deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you mentioned shopping
I
earlier.
did, yeah.
What about it?
Well, Godin makes this point about how, for some people, shopping isn't always this, like, fun, carefree experience.
Right.
Especially if you have limited resources, it can be a source of anxiety.
It's a risk.
Exactly, like a potential threat to their financial stability.
Yeah.
We don't always think about that.
No, we don't. It's a good reminder that we can't just assume everyone experiences things the same way.
Absolutely.
And speaking of assumptions, Godin also points out that the idea of better, it's subjective.
It depends.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he uses the example of high-end handbags.
Yeah.
Just because a brand is more expensive doesn't actually mean it's better.
It might be better for someone.
Yeah.
But it's not objectively better. It's about aligning what you offer with what your audience values.
With their desires.
Yeah.
So if we take a step back, it seems like Godin is really pushing for a more human approach to marketing.
Definitely. It's about connecting with people.
Authentically.
Yeah. Providing real value, not just trying to make a quick sale.
So making a positive impact.
That's the goal.
I'm already starting to see marketing in a whole new light. This is a lot to digest.
It is.
Let's take a pause here and pick up with these ideas in part 2.
Picking up where we left off, I think this concept of the smallest viable market is so powerful.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind shift, isn't it?
It is.
You would think, like bigger audience, more impact, right?
You'd think so. But Godin uses the Grateful Dead as an example.
Oh, interesting.
They never really had a major hit, but they built this incredibly loyal fan base.
Yeah, those Deadheads were dedicated.
They were. And it was all about the live experience, the community. They focused on depth, not just breadth.
And it worked for them.
They weren't trying to appeal to everyone. They were serving a specific audience. And that audience, they were loyal.
Which reminds me of something else he talks about, network effects. Like the value of something increases as more people use it.
The classic example is the fax machine. Back in the day, it was only useful if the people you wanted to, communicate with also had one.
The more people used it, the more valuable it became.
Exactly.
It's like social media today.
Oh, totally. The more friends you have on Facebook or Instagram, the more reason you have to stay.
Right. So for marketers, the takeaway is if you can create something that leverages those network effects.
You've got a built-in growth engine.
Yeah, that's smart.
People are more likely to try something if they see their friends using it and loving it.
Word of mouth is the best advertising. Oh, Godin also talks about direct marketing versus brand marketing.
He does. And he says that direct marketing has become even more powerful in the age of the internet.
Because you can target people more specifically.
Exactly. Tailored messages, personalized content.
So direct marketing is about precision.
Yeah. Whereas brand marketing is more about creating a long-term emotional connection.
Building awareness.
Right. And shaping perceptions. Establishing a unique identity.
Okay, so brand marketing is still important, but
it's not enough on its own. You got to combine the two, the direct and the brand, for a truly effective approach.
interesting. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
reaching the right people, the right message, the right time. Speaking of time, Godin also stresses the importance of frequency.
Persistence. We give up too easily.
Yeah, it's easy to get discouraged when you feel like you're not getting anywhere.
It's like you're shouting into the void.
Exactly.
But Godin says, you got to push through that. Repetition is key.
Think about how many times you see an ad before it actually sticks in your mind.
That's true.
It's not about annoying people. It's about being present, being top of mind.
Exactly. And that brings us back to permission marketing.
Oh, yeah. Treating people with respect,
Earning the right to talk to them.
not demanding their attention. You offer something helpful, you provide value, and you give them a reason to want to hear from you
Building a relationship.
based on trust.
Exactly.
It's the difference between being a welcomed guest and an intruder, right?
That's a great analogy.
And Godin is all about building that mail list.
It's the best example of permission marketing.
Yeah.
Those people, they want to hear from you. They chose to be there.
Unlike social media where you're kind of at the whim of the algorithm.
Renting that attention.
Yeah.
You don't own it.
You were talking about Tumabasa and their Botify's Rap Caviar playlist before.
Oh, yeah.
What a great example of permission marketing in action.
He built a massive following
By understanding his audience.
and consistently delivering value.
He wasn't forcing his music on anyone. It was all about shared passion.
Building community.
And it gave him so much influence.
He shaped musical trends. He earned that permission to be a tastemaker.
That's so cool. It really shows you what's possible when you find that sweet spot where your passion and your audience's needs align.
That's the magic formula.
Godin also talks about status as a motivator.
Oh yeah, status is huge. It's a fundamental human drive. Wanting to belong, to be part of a tribe.
And where do we fit in, right, in that tribe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the things we buy, the brands we support, it's all part of signaling our status.
So how do we use that in marketing without being, manipulative?
It's about understanding that desire for belonging and creating offerings that genuinely resonate with that. Think about membership communities.
Exclusive access.
Exactly. Or limited edition products. It creates a sense of exclusivity.
Makes people feel special.
Yeah. But you got to do it authentically. It can't feel forced or fake.
Right. It has to be genuine, aligned with your values. Speaking of which, authenticity is a big theme in the book.
It's everything. In today's world,
People are so savvy.
they can spot a phony a mile away. Godin says the most successful brands, the most successful people are the ones who are just themselves,
Being real.
embracing their imperfections.
Yeah.
That's what makes them relatable.
That's what builds trust. And that ties into something else he talks about, emotional labor.
Ooh.
It's the work we do to manage our emotions, right?
And present ourselves in a way that's appropriate for the situation.
Like putting on a brave face when you're stressed.
Being patient with difficult customers.
Yeah.
Showing up with a positive attitude even when, you're not feeling it.
It sounds exhausting.
It can be, but it's part of the job. It's about making people feel seen and heard.
Valued.
Yeah. And that's how you build relationships.
Not just transactions.
And those relationships, those are the foundation of any successful business. Treat people well, and they'll become advocates for you. They'll stick around.
They'll tell their friends. Okay, before we move on to the final part of this deep dive, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the ethics of all of this? Godin touches on that, right?
He does.
Yeah.
And he's very clear that marketing can be used for good or for evil.
It's a powerful tool.
It is. You can use it to manipulate people, exploit them, or you can use it to educate, empower, inspire.
So it comes down to a conscious choice.
Exactly. Godin says, use your powers for good. Make the world a better place. Serve your audience.
So create marketing that benefits everyone.
That's the idea.
It's a good reminder that we have a responsibility to use these skills ethically,
Absolutely.
to think about the impact of our actions. This has been so insightful.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I really am. I'm already thinking about how to apply these principles to my own work.
That's great to hear. These ideas are game changers.
They really are. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm excited to hear what else Godin has to offer. Shall we wrap up this section and move on to the final part of our deep dive?
Let's do it.
All right, so we've talked about the smallest viable market, permission marketing, generosity, so much good stuff. What else stood out to you from This is Marketing?
Well, Godin talks about the power of small groups to create real change.
Like change starts small.
Yeah. He says it often starts in little pockets.
With people who are already passionate about something.
Exactly. He uses the example of the gay rights movement.
Oh, interesting.
It started with small groups of activists,
Yeah.
totally dedicated, and they were able to connect with others who shared their vision.
Yeah.
And it grew into this massive movement.
Wow. That's pretty inspiring. Even a small group can have a huge impact.
If they're committed. And Godin says marketers can use this same principle, build communities around what they're offering.
Bring people together who have shared interests.
Yeah, creates this energy, this momentum.
I like that. So earlier we talked about tension,
We did.
creating tension in marketing.
It's not about conflict.
Right. It's not about being negative.
No, it's about that tension that makes you want to take action.
Like the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
Exactly. That feeling of wanting something better.
And Godin says if you create that feeling in your marketing,
You can really motivate people.
to make a change, to do something.
He uses the example of a charity auction.
Oh.
The bidding, the excitement, the desire to support a good cause.
It creates this energy.
And that's what makes people open their wallets.
Yeah. So how do we apply that to other kinds of marketing, not just fundraising?
It's about knowing your audience,
what they care about.
their aspirations, their fears, and crafting messages that tap into those things.
Authentically. You mentioned status earlier as a motivating factor.
Yeah. It's such a powerful drive. Belonging to a group, wanting to have a certain place in that group.
Like we're all trying to figure out where we fit in.
And what we buy, the brands we choose, they all signal something about our status.
It's like we're all peacocks flashing our feathers.
Something like that.
Yeah.
He uses the example of, get this, chickens.
Chickens.
The alpha chicken eats first, then everyone else follows. It's about pecking order.
It's all about status.
It is. And marketers, they can tap into that by creating things that that play into that need for belonging.
Like those membership communities we talked about before.
Yeah. Or limited edition products, things like that.
Create that sense of exclusivity.
Make people feel like they're part of something special.
But it has to be done right.
It does. It can't feel fake or manipulative.
Yeah.
It has to be authentic, aligned with your values.
Speaking of authenticity, Godin talks about that a lot too. Why is that so important now?
Because we're bombarded with so much, advertising.
It's overwhelming.
And online, everyone's trying to project this perfect image.
But people can see through that.
Oh, yeah. We can spot a fake a mile away. And Godin says the most successful brands, they're the ones who are just real,
Transparent.
vulnerable even. They embrace their quirks. They're not afraid to show their imperfections.
Because that's what makes them relatable.
And that's what builds trust.
And that kind of leads into this other concept he talks about, emotional labor.
Yes. The work we do to manage our emotions.
So we can show up in the right way.
Exactly. Like putting on a brave face when you're stressed out.
Or being patient with a difficult customer.
Yeah. Even when you want to scream. Godin says it's essential for good customer service.
It's about making people feel good.
Making them feel seen. Like you actually care.
Not just making a sale.
Right. It's about building relationships.
And those relationships, they pay off in the long run. People are more likely to stick around, to tell their friends.
To become loyal customers.
Yeah. So we've covered so much in this deep dive. What's the one big takeaway you want our listener to remember from This is Marketing?
That marketing can be a force for good.
It's not just about selling stuff.
No. It's about serving people.
Building trust.
Creating genuine connections. And making a positive impact.
I love that. It's about shifting from selling to serving.
Exactly. And remembering that it's not about manipulation or hype. It's about authenticity, generosity.
And really wanting to make a difference.
Yeah. Using our skills to create something good. Something that benefits everyone.
This has been such a fascinating conversation. I'm so glad we did this deep dive.
Me too.
And to our listener, we encourage you to revisit these ideas, explore the book for yourself, and see how you can use them in your own work.
And your life.
Until next time.